That's actress Robin Wright, angled away from the camera, smoking a cigarette. This was Netflix's teaser for season 2 of House of Cards. Watching it, you sense her character Claire Underwood's strength, her control. It foreshadows her rise to power. There is a sense of brooding thought and a hatching of a plan. But how? How does such a scene manage to do so much with such a simple shot? Well, it's all in the cigarette. Her face is barely visible. There is no dialogue, no music. The only action is the drag and the exhale, and the only object in play is a cigarette. We get what's being conveyed to us as the audience because what's referenced is an image that has been ingrained into our collective psyche. An attractive woman takes a drag from a cigarette and then on cue, maybe with a slight pause, says something forthright.
I liked you better without the jacket.
Or assertive.
You still look like you have a pretty good body now, too, is that right?
Or just rude.
Could you leave?
We've learned through repetition to associate the cigarette in a woman's hand with her dominance. We may be unaware of it, but we automatically are able to register, yes, this woman has a certain sense of authority. But why? Why do we make this association between the cigarette and a female character's independence, her power? It actually has a lot to do with this guy, Edward Bernays, the father of public relations. He once said, "We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, and our ideas suggested largely by men we have never heard of." Men like, well, Bernays. He played an instrumental role in using psychoanalysis to shape how we think about products in relation to our own lives and who we are and who we aspire to be.
Bananas taste the best and are the best for you. You can put them in a salad.
And he did that with women, cigarettes, and the aspiration for power. Now, it doesn't happen by itself. Often, the cigarette's connotation of power is bolstered by specific characteristics in a scene, like the way others treat the female smoker, or how she treats characters,
Who's got my goddamn cigarette?
or what she does while she smokes.
His name is Choker and he's not my boyfriend, he's a bounty hunter.
The repetition of these associations strengthened the cigarette as power motif. Soon, the act of simply holding one comes to register in our minds as a conduit of the character's independence and of the seduction inseparable from her power.
Did anyone ever tell you you play a very aggressive game?
And that's why Netflix was able to have a simple trailer for one of its most expensive shows, because that tiny object can stand in for action, dialogue, context, and even backstory. And to get to this point, we need to go back to Edward Bernays. In the early part of the 20th century, women smoking was frowned upon. It was seen as something only done by sex workers. And if you, as a woman, were caught smoking, then you actually risked a prison sentence. But when women entered the workforce during World War I, a lot of notions about traditional gender roles began to shift.
The so-called weaker sex proved their strength by taking on a variety of jobs that required muscle as well as ingenuity.
The tobacco industry saw an opportunity to potentially double their market, but they had to do something about the stigma around women smoking in public. That's where Bernays came in. He had made a name for himself through his efforts in the first state propaganda agency in the United States, Woodrow Wilson's Committee on Public Information. It was established to drive support for American involvement in World War I. In a 1983 WNET interview with Bill Moyers, Bernays discussed how the subcommittee shaped him and his subsequent work.
After experiencing this world situation and recognizing the importance of ideas as weapons, what Victor Hugo had once said, it is useless to send armies against ideas, I decided to open a small office and see whether we could not apply what I had learned in the war to peacetime pursuits.
Central to what Bernays wanted to do was use his uncle's ideas, his uncle being Sigmund Freud. Bernays found that part of Freud's theory on the human psyche, the part about hidden desires, could be especially beneficial to influencing not only the thoughts of the masses, but their actions, basically to engineer consent. He discussed this approach in an interview with Ball State University in 1986.
In the United States, every idea that wants to establish itself, whether it's to sell more paper cups that we work with, or to make people more honest or more virtuous, depends on public consent. And so we worked out the engineering of consent, which applies to any social goal.
In other words, sell the idea that appeals to people's most basic desires and then sell the products. In 1928, he was approached by the president of the American Tobacco Company. Bernays found an opportunity in the rhetoric of women's rights and emancipation and created the campaign Torches of Freedom, the torches being cigarettes. Bernays arranged for a group of young, attractive women to march in 1929's Easter Sunday parade in New York City while smoking. He then tipped the press about women's activists lighting up torches for freedom to assert their equality with men at the parade, and the press ate it up. It was seen as it was sold, a gesture of independence, equality, and power, and it worked. Women started buying cigarettes, and the tobacco industry began targeted campaigns using women's desires and insecurities to sell these torches of freedom. And soon, cigarettes also began appearing on screen in the hands of independent, assertive female characters, forward in their demeanor and their sexuality. Given that the Motion Picture Production Code of 1930 prohibited overt displays of sex, the cigarette became a metaphor for sex during the next 3 decades. Now, the code was dismantled in the 1960s, but the motif was too ingrained to end there. Too ingrained, in fact, to disappear even with the cultural shift away from smoking in the 90s and the recent push by anti-smoking groups to do away with smoking on screen. It's really something else when you consider that we are still consenting to the concept that Bernays engineered almost 100 years ago. And that recognition is as unsettling as it is powerful. Hey guys, thanks for watching. So this concludes this season of Pop Americana. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, we are working on something kind of cool. So don't forget to subscribe, like this video, share it, and also check out our playlist. It's pretty good. I mean, I'm biased, but you know.